Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I am thrilled to have back on again Graham Waldrop of Graham and the Band Upstairs. The band has just put out another fantastic track. It is called Standstill Blues, and I'm very excited to talk to him all about it. Graham, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your weekend to be here. How are you doing today?
Oh yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. Doing great. Excited to talk about the song.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it too. It I really enjoyed the debut, but this feels like a step in the right direction. And there's so much more going on. So I'm really excited to kind of get into it here. Just like last time, I want to know, what is this one about? Like, what inspired it? And is there a story behind it?
Yeah, this is one of the first ones I tried to write. Um,
Okay.
and the story behind it was when I at my old job, I had this horrible commute that took about, an hour or more out and an hour or more back. And I would constantly get stuck in traffic in Atlanta. If anyone's from Atlanta, they can identify or a major city. And I was just like, so I just started this line just entered my head, standstill blues. I had the standstill blues. And so that's what the first verse is about. I'm at a standstill. It takes so long to go on my way. Maybe I'm better off walking, though I'd be walking for the next 2 days, which is pretty
Right.
just how it feels. So that's where it started. And then I was like, you know what? It'd be pretty boring to write a song just about being stuck in traffic. And like, that's the whole song. So
Sure. Hey, it's
started
relatable
experimenting.
at the least.
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, what else do you say at that point?
Yeah.
I'm finally moving. Hooray. So I
Yeah.
sort of started to think about, well, maybe I can make sort of a collection of short stories, and sort of mash them all together about people down their luck or living life too fast and too hard. And sort of always comes back to this sort of common refrain of, people either question the characters in the stories either questioning what they're doing or just enjoying it too much that they sort of lose track of themselves. So that's sort of the kind of repeating thing that happens in each part of the song.
Nice. I love that. It's honestly so relatable. And I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting in traffic myself, probably just singing and riffing at the top of my lungs. Could have written 10 albums by now, but kind
Yeah,
of kind of gives your brain an opportunity to turn off and you go in autopilot mode. I do think that's when the best ideas come. I think it's the same, like it's an equivalent of like, oh, it came to me in the shower, when you're kind of like just doing your thing, and it goes to show you that when you sit down to make music, it's sometimes not as effective as just kind of living your life and letting it come to you.
yeah.
Totally. Well, the song absolutely rocks instrumentally as well. Um, and I really don't want to discount the debut, but this one does feel a lot more lively, and it like kind of sucks you in with its little solos, and it's as diverse as ever. So I guess what was the process like that? How did you get the band involved?
Yeah, it was weird. It was like in a totally different key. I think it was in
Oh,
uh, C or something. Like the progression was totally different. I wanted to kind of make a blues song that didn't follow that sort of blues traditional kind of like EA stuff, which is
okay.
eventually what we did.
Oh,
Um, but I was trying to make it work in a different way. I was like, you know what, I don't understand the rules well enough to break them. So let me just sort of listen to some more just super traditional blues stuff.
yeah,
And then that's where we kind of came up with the da 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 part. And
right.
so I came up with that, and then it's pretty straightforward. And then we got the band together, and it was one of the first songs we started working on, and it really clicked from the get go, especially with Jeff, our lead. He kills that song. He does such a good job on it. And the drum beat came pretty naturally to Zach. Same thing with Joseph on the bass. The one thing we had to really work on was with Veronica, our backing vocalist.
Mhm.
Really try to figure out how to get her in the song, because I felt like I really wanted to have her in the song, but we didn't. We really weren't figuring out what to do with it. But I think what we came up with eventually works really well, and that's a big credit to her. She's a huge collaborator on that, like she always is, in terms of finding how the vocal should function in the song.
Yeah.
And we were really influenced by Mavis Staples for her
Oh,
part.
she's amazing.
Yeah, even though Veronica doesn't have that kind of like that hefty bass to her voice, her voice definitely is much more delicate. But we wanted to have that kind of that attitude
I
that
understand.
Mavis has
The
in a
the
lot of her
essence
songs.
is there because no one's
Yeah.
gonna get in the studio and
No. Yeah.
emulate Mavis Staples. It's
Yeah. It was
an
funny. Yeah.
homage
We
at
were,
least.
yeah, we were talking about it and, we were listening to some stuff and she was like, so just do that. Right. And I was like, yeah, that's all you got to do. Just do what Mavis does and we'll be fine.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Just a step by step book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, and I could say it a million times. The final result speaks for itself. So even though it's not that, it's definitely its own thing, which is always a
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
I also want to know, did you learn anything between putting the debut out and this one out? Whether it be, I guess, in just like creating it or studio time, or I don't know what was, I guess,
No,
the order of it.
not really. I mean, we recorded both these songs during the same weekend.
Oh, okay,
So it was pretty much just like, it's the same kind of process really that we followed with the last song.
sure.
So yeah, not a ton was learned in terms of the creation of the music. In terms of getting both these songs out since they were recorded at the same time.
Right. I guess that makes sense. It does, like I mentioned, it does feel like there's a slight instrumental shift. Like it definitely has your guys' sound to it, but it's more beefed up in a way.
Yeah.
Is that I guess, a precursor to what we can expect? Because there's more on the way, as I understand.
Yeah, there's definitely more on the way. I don't know. I mean, like one big thing for us is to always try to make each song stand on its own. So like with Home to You, it's definitely softer, more acoustic song.
Sure.
There's no real drum beat or anything except for the kick drum that just sort of is really layered in with the rest of the mix. Whereas this song was like we wanted the drums to kick ass, we wanted the cymbals to crash.
Yeah.
We really wanted to bring that out. We wanted the bass to be more present. So it was really just about like, all right, how does this song stand on its own? What do we do to do that, to make that happen? And so that's really what it was all about.
Sure. And it does, and I think the song really shines in its solos. Like there's some cool instrumental breakdowns in there between the singing that, like, I don't know, I think one of the most difficult things of music nowadays is how can we pique a listener's interest for 4 to 5 minutes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our
Mm-hmm.
attention spans are shot. We can't we can't pay attention to anything. And not that this song is like whiplash or anything like that, but there's truly more than enough happening to kind of just, not get sick of it, which is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that was it's a big credit to Jeff on that for
Yeah,
really exploring how many different ways you can sort of do that A to E transition that's
totally.
so prevalent, that recurring riff in the song. But like he just did a great job with that. I mean, there was one point we were rehearsing and he's like, man, this is kind of getting torturous just doing the same sort of thing
Right.
over and over again. So he really worked hard, and we really talked a lot about, well, how can we make each lick stand out, and what what's going on in the song, sort of thing. And then he just sort of came in there and made it happen. At the end of the
Right.
day, it's big credit to him.
And I think that's also got to be such a difficult thing to be in the studio and, okay, guys, we've got this amazing song, and then you play it 150 times back to back to back. You're like, is this song good, or have I just heard it too many times? Is there a way of avoiding that, or do you kind of just have to trust in the process?
I think it's more about trust in the process. But there's a funny story about the recording of this song. We recorded it, and the tone was all wrong on Jeff's guitar, and we just
Okay.
didn't pick up on it. So we actually had to go back and redo his part. His part was that is in the song was recorded separately because of that. So it was one of those things where we thought everything was fine, and it's sort of becoming kind of like not a totally recurring theme for us, but we've had some times where we've had to go back to the studio to fix things that we thought was working perfectly. I
Yeah.
guess it's just part of the process. But it was definitely a thing where, okay, now that we're hearing it outside the studio, it's like, oh man, we actually need to go back and clean that up. So
Right. That's
yeah.
okay. That's the part of it. You know
Mhm.
what? You got final
Yeah.
say, and it's got to be something that you want to listen to anyway. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
One thing we touched on last time was I basically asked you for an elevator pitch of, like, explain your sound to me. This time around, though, I want to know because, I get feedback from people. They want to know, like, if you like a certain artist, how can I connect it to your music? So, who are some similar artists, I suppose, that where it's like, if you like them, you're going to like us?
Yeah, I first person that comes to mind is definitely Bob Dylan.
Mhm. I mean, that comes through right at
Yeah,
the top.
yeah, like the way that the music works, the way that especially the lyrics are heavily influenced by him. I think if anybody who likes any era of Bob Dylan will hopefully connect with our stuff, because that's where a lot of it comes from in terms of
Sure.
the influences. Neil Young's another one. Those two are probably the top two. Townes Van Zandt, Van Morrison, people of that era,
Yeah,
came from that era, came from the 60s and 70s. Their work is incredibly influential on what we do. One thing I want to start doing though is really start to look into other genres. I was talking about this with Joseph, our bassist, over the last few days. Was just, what else can we bring in? What else can we incorporate? Can we look at funk? Can we look at R&B? Can we look at jazz even?
yeah,
Because we have some rock elements and blues elements, obviously, this song, but really getting out of our comfort zone, I think, will be a good thing for the future. That'll happen way in the future, though.
of
For
course.
these next, things that we've already been working on, it's kind of like this is sort of going to be our sound, but it's definitely something I want to look into in terms of diversifying.
Totally. Do you find it difficult at all to have these massive inspirations and still try to make your own original music, but also, create something that embodies their spirit? Because I know a lot of people that I've talked to, they're like, I actively try to not listen to music so as to not like emulate them, but it comes through, but it's still its own thing.
Yeah, I think that's the tricky balance, and I think that works for some people. For me, I'm like, anytime I have doubts, I go and listen to stuff. I go listen to
Oh, all right.
yeah, and just I go listen to Dylan, I listen to Neil, I listen to all those people I was talking about, because I'm like, all right, what are they doing? Why does it work? And
Right.
that's
Why do
really
I, yeah,
where,
keep coming back to it year
yeah,
after year?
right. And it's like, what is going on here? And
Totally.
those guys are a million times better than we'll ever be. So it's like, learn from the best,
True.
and then try to take it and make it your, take what they've done, make it your own. I really also try to make sure that nothing I'm doing is going to be so referential to the point where it's like, oh, that's super derivative, that's a rip off.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
It doesn't. It
Um,
doesn't. But
yeah,
but it's
but
always a concern.
sure, yeah, it is a concern, but it's also like you got to believe in yourself at the end of the day that you're doing,
Right.
enough to make yourself original. Even if you wear the influences on your sleeve.
I also think maybe a little bit easier with a band as opposed to a solo project where you don't have any outside input. And then you're like,
Yeah,
oh man, I just made a Bob Dylan record and I didn't
right,
do
right,
it.
right. I mean, my band is so huge in terms of like our collaboration is
Yeah.
something else. I mean, they do such a good job of. It's a really weird kind of like hierarchy. It's like I had the final say on what happens, but I try to be so supportive and collaborative to them, because they look at things in a different way than I do. And I think if you shut yourself off to that, then it's really stupid if you're working with a band, even if you're spearheading it,
Yeah.
because there's always going to be better ideas out there, and you want to have people around you that are either as smart or a hell of a lot smarter than you, so that they can say, hey, I don't think we're going in the right direction, or push this a little more. You know, we do that in everything we do.
Sure.
So they're so important to the creation of this work.
That's awesome. Is there something about making music as a whole that you feel gives you the most energy or the thing that makes it feel the most worth it for you? Because it's not an easy process in any
No,
facet of it.
no, it's not. I'm still discovering that like every day in
Yeah.
all aspects of it, be it making the music, trying to get shows, trying to get it out in front of enough people, et cetera, marketing. Um, it's hard to know what really makes it worth it. I think it's just, I've always been a storyteller at heart. And when I feel like I've gotten my story across and we've come together, and when the song is done and you feel like you've done something great, that's when I feel the best. Like there are
Mhm.
times when you're working on stuff and we're working through how things are, how the music's really going to progress in every single aspect of it. That can be just a total pain in the ass. Like that part is fun when you figure it out, but when you are figuring it out,
Right.
it can be a bit laborious. But when we've conquered that, when you really get through an obstacle and you figure out, oh, this is how this song should start, or this is how the song should end, or this is the recurring kind of riff we're doing, and we're really executing well on it, or vocally. It's like a bunch of little things that add up to the complete package. But
Yeah.
you can have these mini victories, but when it all comes together at the end, like when we finally finished this song, I was like, okay, I feel good about it.
Exactly.
But
No,
it took
yeah,
a minute.
yeah. It's the journey
It
of
took a
getting
minute.
there that it's just a ball of anxiety, and it's like, is this worth it? Is this worth it? And then, okay, actually, we made some pretty damn good music here. We did it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're over that mountain. I love it. Um, well, you had mentioned that there is a show coming up, so I'd love for you to talk
Mhm.
about that, and if there's anything else, in the works at the moment, in terms of live shows.
Yeah, so we got a show May 3rd at Smith's Old Bar in Atlanta. Pretty
Nice.
decently famous bar, kind of music venue in Atlanta. A lot of people have
Great.
come through and played there. We played there in December, so it's good to get back out there. We're going to be playing with our friends Robin Shakedown, another really good band, and Mostly Strangers.
Cool.
So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Should be a fun night of music. If you're in the Atlanta area, want to come check it out, that's where we'll be. Shows at 8 on May the 3rd. Um, so yeah, that's really the only show we have booked right now. I've discovered that you got to start booking things like 2 months in advance if you want a chance to get a show somewhere. So that's been a big that's been a big learning
Sure.
experience.
Well,
Yeah.
that's just an excuse to get back in the studio, write more songs, put more out into the world. It's really difficult to prioritize one or the other.
Yeah, and we just recorded 3 more songs in February.
Hey, there you go.
So we're hoping to get those. Kind of just waiting on our mixer there. Get things really cracking with that, and hoping to record some more later this summer. And after we do that, we should have recorded all the songs we need for this record, which would include the 2 songs that are out right now.
Very nice.
So
Well, I'm looking forward to it as always, and I've got a couple more for you, but I basically want
sure,
to
yeah,
know, and you've kind of laid it out for me here, but the plan for the rest of the year. You've got more music, you're getting in the studio, you're doing the thing. Is it an album? Is it an EP? Is it something you want to talk about or no?
oh yeah, sure. It's a full length record, full LP, and yeah, it's called Turning Magic on Its Heels is the name of the album. And we hope it's going to take people on a really fun musical journey. I think if you've liked these first 2 songs, that's pretty indicative of the kind of stuff we're going to make.
Wait.
Um, and it sort of runs the gamut. There's a couple more acoustic songs. There's another kind of bluesier song. There's one that kind of merges folk and like sort of hard rock together. There's a lot of different things going on. We have some different instruments coming into, and some of them we got violin, organ. So it should be a really fun album when it's all said and done. But sort of always trying to each song will tell its own individual story, and
Sure.
sort of be up to interpretation to the listener. This is definitely the most fun song we have. This is the one that has a little bit of the most sort of comedic touch to it. I would
Nice.
say, and the rest of the songs, it's not like they're all super heavy or anything, but in terms of like how Home to You is structured with the lyrics and how sort
Yeah.
of really up to interpretation that's kind of how the rest of the album is lyrically. So
All right. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of surprises and experimentation around the corner, to say the least.
yeah.
Has there been
And
any? Oh no, go for it. Go for
oh
it.
no, sorry.
No,
Go.
I was gonna say, has there been any like modern music that's kind of shifted your sound, or do you think that you're fully pulling from the classics?
No, there's definitely some modern music. I think Elin Jewell has been a big influence on me the last few years. She's a really great Americana sort of country folk artist. It's hard to sort of pin her down,
Yeah,
but she's tremendous. And Alexa Woodward is another artist who isn't putting out as much music anymore. But I mean, I've said this before. I think she's my favorite songwriter of the 21st century. I think her lyrics are just incredible. So
yeah,
they've been pretty influential on me as well. Um, so and yeah, I would recommend if anyone hasn't heard of them to check out their music. They're both just phenomenal.
cool.
Um, Trying to think of other like Gary Clark Jr. is another guy I've been listening
Oh
to a
yeah,
lot over the last few years. I mean, I think he's just an unbelievable guitarist.
I agree.
Um, yeah, Michael Kiwanuka, love his stuff. Ray LaMontagne, list goes on. I could sit here and name some.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
No, it's all,
listen,
you got
yeah,
great taste. So I'm
yeah,
not surprised at all.
yeah.
The music speaks for itself. Awesome. Graham, well, my last question for you here is
Mhm.
it's essentially the same as last time, but it's, for the person that is going to discover you from this, what is an opening message that you'd like to say to them before they listen to your music for the first time?
I wish I could just go back and look at what I said last
I
time.
think it's better that you
But
don't, because now
yeah,
you
no, I
can
agree.
compare.
Things change. Yeah,
Yeah.
things change. I'd say that, you know, basically that, you know, we're we're a band that tells stories with our songs. There's always a good narrative. There's always a reason to listen to things more than once. We hope that, with our playing, with the musicianship, that it really pulls you in and that the lyrics keep you there. I think that's the big thing, is that we really try to make it a full, comprehensive experience where hopefully the lyrics aren't sacrificed for the music and vice versa. And you have this sort of really cohesive experience
Mhm.
listening to the song. But every song's going to take you on a story. I think that's the biggest thing. If you like narrative and having to work a little bit for that narrative to form your own opinions on things, I think, you'll hopefully like our stuff. And obviously with all those influences that were mentioned,
Yeah.
if you like that music, hopefully you'll like hopefully you'll like our music.
I think they will, and I think that's a great answer. And from what I remember, pretty similar to the last one, but in a new light at the least.
Sure.
Very cool. Well, Graham, thank you so much again. Please let me plug your song for you. If you guys have missed it the first time around, it is called Standstill Blues. We will have the links in the article so that you can listen and share and follow along. But it sounds like there's so much more right around the corner. I assume in the next few months. If you're in the Atlanta area, there's shows as well, and we'll have all that info. But Graham, I want to thank you so much again for taking the time. It really means a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you, Austin. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right. Have an amazing rest of your day. I hope to speak soon, and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.